These noodles look familiar, but their protein comes from a very unexpected source.
Meet the coconut worm, a fatty beetle larva that's becoming a modern protein ingredient.
From wriggling larvae to golden noodle bricks, it's a tightly controlled industrial journey.
By the time they reach your bowl, you might never guess they started life inside a coconut tree.
Today, we'll step inside a coconut worm processing plant in Southeast Asia to see exactly how it's done.
These instant noodles use coconut worm as a source of animal protein, similar in nutrition to meat or fish.
Instant noodles are a quick meal for students, workers, and families around the world.
Here, part of that protein comes from finely processed coconut worm, blended into the noodle and the seasoning.
We'll follow the entire journey, from farming the larvae to packing the final noodle bricks.
First, worms are raised in controlled coconut farms and harvested at the right stage of growth. Next, they're cleaned, cooked, and converted into a safe, stable protein ingredient.
Then that ingredient is mixed into dough, formed into noodles, and used to flavor the seasoning sachets.
The young larvae feed on the coconut flesh, gradually building up fat and protein.
In just a few weeks, they can reach several centimeters in length and harvest weight. Temperature and humidity stay within a narrow range, ideal for worm growth and preventing mold.
Once they reach the target weight, usually just before pupation, it's time to harvest. Harvesting happens in a separate clean room to reduce dust and contamination.
At this stage, they're still very active, packed with moisture and natural fats.
The larvae are quickly loaded into refrigerated trucks to keep them chilled and fresh. From here, their journey continues to the processing plant just a short drive away.
At the factory, everything starts at the receiving bay.
Staff check that transport temperatures have stayed within safe, chilled limits.
The first step on the production line is grading and separation.
A vibrating table spreads them out so that each one can be inspected.
High-speed cameras scan each larva for size, color, and surface defects.
Software marks good pieces in green and diverts anything that doesn't meet the standard.
Rejected larvae are collected separately for non-food uses or safe disposal.
Before cooking, the accepted larvae are thoroughly rinsed with chilled, filtered water.
The rinse removes bits of coconut fiber or farm debris that may be clinging to the surface.
A rotating drum with sprays adds gentle agitation, improving cleaning without damaging the larvae.
A final human check looks for anything the machines might have missed.
Coconut worm processing starts with blanching, quick, controlled cooking in hot water or steam.
The larvae travel through a steam tunnel that rapidly heats them to safe temperatures.
As they cook, their color and texture change, and their high fat content begins to soften.
Excess hot water drains away as the blanched larvae move to the next stage. A centrifuge spins off more moisture and surface fat to prepare them for grinding. The solid portion now goes into a grinder that will turn it into a homogeneous paste.
Sharp blades quickly reduce the blanched larvae into a smooth insect paste. What was once a tray of whole larvae is now a continuous stream of protein-rich paste.
Inside a mixing tank, the paste is blended with water or other ingredients to adjust texture. Mild antioxidants and food acids help stabilize color, flavor, and shelf life.
Part of this mixture is spray-dried into a fine coconut worm protein powder. At the end of the dryer, warm air is separated from the dry powder in a cyclone chamber. Some of the paste is dried as a thin film on a rotating steel drum for a different texture. On contact with the hot drum, moisture flashes off and leaves a brittle protein sheet.
A blade scrapes off the dried sheet, which is then broken into flakes or granules. Next door, the noodle line operates much like a conventional instant noodle factory.
Wheat or other cereal flour provides the bulk of the noodle's structure. Salt and alkaline water influence the dough's color, pH, and springy bite. Dry ingredients are blended first to distribute the insect protein evenly. Then water is sprayed in, slowly turning the powder into a cohesive dough. Powerful paddles knead the mixture, developing gluten strands for elasticity.
This network traps air and gives the finished noodles their characteristic chew.
Operators still rely on touch tests to judge whether the dough feels right. Once mixed, the dough is transferred to a hopper where it rests briefly. This resting phase allows the water to distribute evenly and the gluten to relax.
From here, the dough is flattened into a continuous sheet. The first rollers press it into a thick band, squeezing out air pockets.
Uniform thickness is essential for even steaming, drying, and cooking.
At the end of the sheeter, rotating blades cut the dough into long, thin noodles.
The result is a curtain of fresh noodles, with coconut worm protein mixed invisibly inside.
Fresh noodles now need to be cooked and shaped into those familiar bricks. Inside this tunnel, hot steam cooks the strands evenly all the way through.
They soften and gel, locking starch and proteins into a stable network.
A brief cooling stage helps firm up the strands before cutting. A high-speed cutter slices the endless noodles into portion-sized lengths.
Metal molds gather each portion and fold it into a compact, wavy block.
Every block must have the right weight and dimensions to fit the final package. Inline scales periodically check that each brick meets tight weight specifications.
Instant noodles can be dried using hot air, frying in oil, or a combination of both.
This factory runs both traditional fried blocks and lower-fat, air-dried versions.
As water escapes, tiny pores form that later let boiling water rush back in.
When they emerge, they're rigid, light, and almost completely dry.
Air jets and gentle vibration remove excess surface oil before cooling.
On the air-dried line, Noodles are slowly dried with heated, filtered air instead of frying.
Layer by layer, warm air flows across the noodles, removing moisture gently. Properly dried bricks snap cleanly without crumbling into dust.
After drying or frying, all noodles head to a common cooling section.
Cooling to room temperature is crucial to prevent condensation inside the pack.
Only once they reach the target temperature can they safely move on to packaging.
Instant noodles wouldn't be complete without their concentrated flavor packs.
The rich liquid from blanching the worms becomes the base for a savory broth.
It's simmered to concentrate flavor and remove more water.
Some recipes add coconut notes to complement the wormel's mild, nutty profile.
The concentrated broth is spray-dried, turning liquid umami into a shelf-stable powder.
This powder blends with salt, sugar, and spices to form the main seasoning mix.
For some variants, a separate flavored oil is made using refined worm fat and vegetable oils.
Seasoning powders are packed into small sachets by high-speed packaging machines.
A continuous film is folded into a tube, sealed along the edge, and filled from above. An auger measures each dose down to fractions of a gram for consistent taste. Heated jaws seal and cut the film, creating rows of identical little packets.
Some premium products include a second sachet of flavored oil to boost richness.
Soon, each noodle block will receive just the right combination of these flavor packs.
Now all the components finally come together on the packing line.
Robotic arms precisely place one or more seasoning sachets on top of every block.
An inkjet printer adds production dates, best before dates, and tracking numbers.
A check weigher ensures that no pack leaves the line underfilled.
Inspectors check noodle color, block integrity, and the size of each seasoning sachet.
Some samples head straight to the lab for microbiological testing.
Here, staff check for bacteria, yeast, and mold to ensure strict food safety standards are met.
They also examine noodle structure to maintain the right porosity and texture.
Finished packs are boxed, palletized, and stored in a dry warehouse.
Labels show flavor, production date, and destination market for each carton.
Independent certifications and audits help prove that insect-based foods can meet strict international standards.
At home, the ingredient list tells the story more simply. Wheat flour, coconut worm protein, seasoning.
Preparation is just as familiar as any other instant noodle you've ever made.
Boiling water softens the dried noodle and reawakens the tiny pores formed during frying or drying.
In just a few minutes, the once hard brick becomes a steaming, ready-to-eat meal.
Most people notice a rich, savory depth, but few could guess it came from a small coconut-dwelling larva. From coconut groves to stainless steel tanks, from worm protein to quick-cooking bricks, every stage is carefully controlled. Next time you see an unusual flavor on the shelf, you'll know the complex journey behind that simple bowl of noodles.